today I was not going to film. I'm sick, I sound nasally, so sorry about that. But I've already watched every single Pirates of the Caribbean movie, so I'm not sure what else to do but test these concealers that we have here today. I'm also really excited to share these with you and see which one is better. This is actually going to be part 2 of my concealer battle. If you have not seen the first one, it was between the House Labs and the Makeup by Mario concealer. Today we're working with the more serum-y, moisturizing formula. So we have the Tower 28 Serum Concealer and the Makeup Forever HD Skin Concealer. So their packaging difference is pretty funny. This is like a really big package and this one's tiny, but in terms of the actual amounts, let's see, the Tower 28 one is 0.22 fluid ounces and this one is 0.15. So you are getting less with this. So keep that in mind. I also got these little butterfly clips in a PR package today, so that was super cute and I was like, I gotta wear them. So let me pull up Sephora and we will talk about the details of these. First, let's start with this. This is $22, which I believe is the most affordable of this whole concealer series. It's clean at Sephora. I got the lightest shade, which is called BH, which is fair with neutral undertones. It is quite a fair shade. So it says that it's a hydrating, non-comedogenic concealer that glides on like a serum and it has a medium buildable coverage power to instantly cover dark circles, redness, and blemishes, which we have a lot going on today. So medium coverage, natural finish. So let's go ahead and just apply this one before we move on to the Makeup Forever. So it has a dual-sided, I almost called it a spatula, a wand, so it does pick up quite a lot of product. I'm gonna do what I did last time and do about 3 dots. So I'm gonna do this one on my right eye. Also gonna do a little bit on blemishes so we see how it performs on the face as well. I do actually really like this tube. It's like big and chunky, but I feel like you're not getting a lot of product accumulating on the wand and it like does a good job at cleaning it off because that can be really annoying. For my foundation today, I actually have this Neutrogena CC cream, which I have a review on, but trying this on today after just trying the Rose Ink foundation, this is honestly gonna be like a dupe for that. If you want a very similar smoothing formula, you might want to try this one out before you splurge on the Rose Ink one. That one's really good, but they both have that like silicone smoothing base to them. So let's go in. I have my sponge here. It is clean, just a little bit stained. The consistency is on the thinner side as I would expect with a serum formula, but it's not super liquidy. Like I feel like that actually gave me really good coverage, surprisingly. And those 3 dots, I mean, like the difference here, pretty good coverage. I mean, that looks beautiful. I don't really know what else I would want from a concealer. It's smooth, it definitely looks hydrated. What surprised me is the amount of coverage. I was expecting it to be a bit more sheer, even though it did claim to have medium coverage. Like comparing to the Ilia Serum Concealer, it feels like that, maybe slightly thicker and gives more coverage, which is really nice because I feel like you still get that hydrating aspect, but you get the cover of the dark circles and blemishes. Really love the shade as well, it's just nice and brightening for me. So let's move on to this Makeup Forever HD Skin. I don't have a ton of Makeup Forever makeup, but I'm interested to see because it says it's an anti-crease concealer. So this is called their HD Skin Smooth and Blur Undetectable Under Eye Concealer. I got the lightest shade again, which is 1Y Pearl for very fair skin with neutral to golden undertones. So this says it's a featherlight buildable concealer that visibly smooths, brightens, and corrects under eyes with an undetectable real skin finish up to 24 hours of wear. It's kind of one of my pet peeves is when makeup claims to wear for like a super unrealistic amount of time. Like most of us don't wear makeup for 24 hours. Maybe one day I'll do a video testing makeup for 24 hours. That would be interesting actually with the new Euphoria foundation because they claim that you can sleep in that. Let me know in the comments if you want a video like that. So yeah, it has that medium coverage, natural finish. It's a liquid formula. It says that it has some skincare ingredients. It's a gel-like texture that's easily blendable and buildable with no caking or creasing. Okay, if you're claiming no caking or creasing, you better bring it to the table, Makeup Forever. So let's try this out. This is pretty simple packaging. It is definitely a smaller concealer. It does have a double-sided doe foot. It's not picking up too much product. By the look of this like reservoir though, it looks like you might collect a lot of product right on this top part. Let me just show you what I find happens with these sort of wider concealers. This one is from Rose Ink, which I really like, but oh my gosh, the amount of product that gets like built up on the edge and just like stuck in this wide reservoir is very annoying and wasteful, especially if you're shelling out some dough for a concealer. But let's try this on. On we go onto this eye. I'm gonna do 3 dots. Okay, that was more like 4, but whatever. And then I have this blemish down here. Let's see if it covers it. Probably wouldn't use something that light, but for testing purposes. Do a little bit on the forehead as well. I'm honestly like, if you can't wait for Tower 28 to make a foundation, I feel like, I know they're hard to formulate, I feel like they would make a really good one. But clean off my sponge, so let's blend this one in. I will say that when I applied this, let me do a little bit more because the wand just didn't pick up as much product. So I feel like I want to give it a fair shot. Use the same amount that I feel like I used on the Tower 28 side. Okay, this one is like definitely more sheer. It is still thin. Less coverage for sure than the Tower 28 side. It doesn't go quite as long ways as the Tower 28 one did. Okay, this actually looks really healthy and pretty. Did not cover this blemish, but it's like one of those weird blemishes that doesn't get covered very well. It looks really skin-like. That was kind of its claim, so I understand that. But it's not quite, I wouldn't say that it's medium coverage like it claims to be. Maybe I'll try to build it up just a tiny bit more. I don't want to use like a ton of extra product though. I would say on first application, if you're using a sponge at least like I do, I know that does shear things out a bit. It's gonna be more of like a light medium finish, but let's see if we could build it up just a tad. Okay, I'm not totally sure that built up a lot, maybe just a little bit. They do have similar finishes. The Makeup Forever side has a slight more hydrated skin-like finish, because over here on the Tower 28 one, you're getting more coverage. Still looks really skin-like though, so this is a very interesting matchup. All right, so I'm gonna use my Dermablend powder to set. It's always like my go-to for these testing battles because it's just so basic. It's a translucent powder. I'm gonna do my classic concealer technique where I'm going to smooth out any creases before I set. Over here on the Tower 28 side, we did get a little bit of settling, but pretty normal for a concealer. That's why I always smooth it out. Another test that I like to see while I'm doing this is, does my finger pick up the coverage? And surprisingly over here, it didn't like take away a ton of the product. So I'm liking that. So I'm just taking a little bit on this brush. I'm gonna go ahead and set that down. I am loving the coverage over here. I was just not expecting it to be like really nice coverage. All right, now let's blend out this Makeup Forever side. Just for reference, this eye does tend to crease a little bit more. I just have some more fine lines over here. So I will keep that in mind when I'm testing these. All right, under eyes are set. You can tell we're getting a little bit more coverage on this Tower 28 side, but they both look really good so far. With these thinner concealers, they tend to crease or sink into my lines. I usually prefer something thicker and full coverage that I can use less of. They honestly look really good. Here is a little trick if you have a blemish like mine where it's like peeling or just healing and foundation does not stick to it, liquid foundation, go in with a powder foundation instead of a liquid concealer that can end up looking cakey if you keep layering it up. This just sticks onto things and I just like to dab it right over. And this is the Pure Powder Foundation, by the way, which is one of my favorites. The reason this works is because blemishes tend to be multi-textural. So they're kind of like maybe have dry skin around the edge and then they're raised. So when you put liquid over, it kind of just wants to stick on like the flat surface instead of like covering over texture, especially with a sponge or like a brush. So when you use a powder and dab it on, it kind of like powder, because it is a powder molecule, not liquid, it will kind of stick on more texture versus something that's liquid that just wants to smooth things over. So if you haven't tried the technique, it's a really good one. But to set the rest of the face, I've been trying out this Bobbi Brown Vitamin Rich Pressed Powder in yellow. I've actually been really liking this. The yellow in this isn't so strong that it changes the, like, it deepens my foundation or anything, but it is yellow enough where it's like I have a foundation on today, you can't really tell, but it's a little bit peachy for me, and this just kind of like color corrects if you're fair olive or if your foundation is just like a little bit too pink looking. It's also really good for like dullness, like I'm sick right now, my skin is dull, or yellow is also pretty good for redness. And also I'm usually not a huge fan of pressed powders, can be cakey. This one is beautiful. I think it's like more of a baked formula. Just been like a really nice addition to my makeup as of lately. It doesn't feel too drying. It's also not too dewy either, so Really good for like combo skin. So I was looking for my Hourglass bronzer the other day and I couldn't find it. And then I realized that I have this Kiko Milano bronzer, which is basically a dupe for the Hourglass one. Not quite the shade, but the formula. I don't know if they still have this specific one, but this is such a beautiful bronzer. The packaging is gorgeous. So this is what I will be using as my bronzer today. Because it's a baked formula, it gives you a little bit of glow. Just that shade for fair skin, really nice. I also pulled out this Make Beauty blush in Fuchsia Flush because I was like, I need to use this shade. Really reminds me of Persona Bubble Blush, but like even more intense. So maybe if you have like medium, deeper skin, you might want to go with this if you wanted like a similar finish. But I still have been using this. I just have to be very light-handed. But I've just been loving these super cool toned pink blushes. I feel like they're just so flattering on my skin tone. And these are just a super matte formula. I've been using the RMS blush, of course, but I'm like, I need to take a little bit of a break from it. See, isn't that just like so pretty and natural looking, surprisingly? And then I've also been using the Laura Mercier Matte Radiance Baked Powder and Highlight. If you want like a glow, but you don't really want the look of highlight, this is so pretty. Honestly underrated. I've also been using this for so long and like it doesn't seem like I'm ever gonna hit pan or finish it. It's like the longest lasting product ever, especially since I just use a fan brush. And if you're scared that it's gonna be like a little bit too dark for you if you have fair skin, trust me, it's not. It's so creamy and flattering. Just such a pretty glowy powder. Kind of like the Hourglass ambient lighting powders, but with a little bit more pigment to them. Alrighty then. What is that from? Anyway, for lips, let's do a little bit of lip liner. This is the Sephora Contour Gel Lip Liner in the shade. It's called the Nudist. If you have very fair lips, you feel like a lot of things run warm on you, but you want something a little bit more moisturizing, this shade is perfect. I think I want to use this Chantecaille Le Matte Stylo in Snapdragon, which is a really pretty pink. Bit brighter. The lips are dry, so let's do some gloss. This is the... Oh no, Cloven Hollow doesn't exist anymore, right? I'll use something else. The Pixi Liplift Max. You know I like these. This one is Honey Sheen. I think my brow kind of got wiped away a little bit with foundation, so I'm going to go into the KVD. This is the Brow Struck Powder in Blonde. I'm not sure if they still sell these, unfortunately. I will have to look and put it in the description below. Usually don't use brow powders, but they're really helpful if you feel like a part of your eyebrow, like sometimes pencils just like won't stick or they get like crumbly. I really like a powder for that kind of thing. So this will be our first check-in. It is 12:46. I'll wear it to the end of the night. So just by looks so far, Tower 28 one over here looks really good. It looks smooth. Nothing is creased or settled. Definitely getting a little bit more coverage than Makeup Forever. Does look a little bit more makeup-y than the Makeup Forever one though. But yeah, over here, same thing. Nothing settling, nothing creasing. Looks very, very natural and skin-like. So the undetectable claim that this one has, we'll see if it stands up over time because it also says that it's creaseless. We'll see which one of these are worth your money, so make sure you stay tuned. Oh, and also before we do the rest of the wear test, go in the comments and vote which one of these concealers you think is gonna win the battle, either the Tower 28 or the Makeup Forever. Comment below quick. But yeah, see you in the next check-in. Okay, it is the end of the night. My makeup's looking pretty rough. It's 10:43, so the concealer makeup has been on for quite a while. I'm ready to take it off. Taking a look at how things have worn, we have some very interesting stuff going on. So on both sides, I have mostly major creasing. Tower 28 side, I kind of have like one big crease. And then over here on the Makeup Forever, I do have settling into like these lines on my nose, in like some vertical lines, and also on my other lines. Anything that there was to sink into, unfortunately, it's been sunken. I guess I have to pick between two of them. I want to imagine if I had dry skin or if I didn't have as much trouble with creasing, which one of these formulas I would prefer. Again, this was Tower 28 and this was Makeup Forever. They each have their pros and cons. Their cons being that they do crease if you have more oily skin or you just have more fine lines or round eyes like I do. So between the two, they both applied really well. The Tower 28 just has more coverage. You're getting more product for a lower price. So I feel like if you wanted a serum concealer and you had that more dry skin type, I think the Tower 28 one is the way to go. I also just like this bigger packaging. It feels a bit nicer. This one's tiny. I hate when something claims to be anti-crease and it's not. So with this, I'm just like really annoyed with it. Also looking how it wore on my face, like it wore pretty decently. Hard to tell if it's my foundation or the concealer, but I have been testing these a little bit besides this wear test as well. Have just been using the Tower 28 one a little bit more. Makeup Forever is going to be a toss for me. It's higher price and does not work as well, so that's a bummer. Makeup Forever, do better. Let me know in the comments below which makeup products I should test side to side next, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.